Okay, as New Zealander, well, hello and good luck to you. Would I like to play first? Nope, still happy drawing here. Ooh, but we're gonna have to mulligan this. We don't have a strong hand, and I don't have one of my colors. This is much better with a nice hand. Warden of USI to come down 3, Bright Pack Alpha on 4, Sensory Deprivation to handle anything. Ooh, another green drafter. Very surprised about that, to be honest. And, ooh, black. This must be the nut black drafter. I got the nut black. Someone who has just some good things. I could do the sensory deprivation here against the Child of Night just to maximize my mana, but whatever. I'm going to take the 4-point life swing. I'll take a couple hits from it, but I'm fine with that. The Briar Pack Alpha will come down and hopefully eat it or something. And yeah, I think that's where the sensory deprivation is going to have to go, right? Yeah. That does mean now, maybe the warning just trades the Child of Night? That's got to be horrible, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I think what I have to do is sensory deprive the Colonian Tusker and then bring the Warden online in a turn or two. Maybe use Briar Pack Alpha to try to eat the Child of Night. Alternatively, I take 5 points of damage while I get the Warden out, which is tempting. But then Enlarge is worse when Sensory Deprivation's out, so actually we're just going to play a little risky, take some damage here. I might even just trade the Warden with the Child, and I don't need the pump, the ability that it has. So let's see what my opponent wants to do here. Is my opponent going to make that trade? No, my opponent doesn't want to make that trade. That's interesting. Okay. So it looks like my opponent has some game plan for this Child of Night. Ooh, and a Vastwood Hydra. That's a 2-2. That's interesting. Very interesting. I'm going to keep the Warden back. It's very clear that I have a Briar Pack Alpha and a Thalia Sea Kite. We'll see what that ends up being. But yeah, Briar Pack Alpha is just coming down. My opponent has Giant Growth. What do I block? I think we just pump the Warden, block the Child of Night, so at least, even if Giant Growth comes down, they trade in the Briar Pack Alpha. I'll trade with the Vastwood Hydra, and Giant Growth's going to eat it, it's going to eat it, but at least I'll also have eaten my card. Likewise, I could just force my opponent to play the combat trick to kill the Tusker, since my Alpha is going to be trying to stay alive anyway. But then I have Sensory Deprivation for backup later. Yeah, let's stick with the original game plan, because that'll allow my opponent to put 2 counters on the Colonian Tusker. I'll have Trollhide and Sensory Deprivation to make that not as big of a deal. And of course, if the combat trick the combat trick does come down, the combat trick comes down. There's a Doomblade. Okay. That could go on the Child of Night, maybe? Still a trade, though. Colonian Tusker gets it out of range. Alright, so it is there. Train Condor will be good. Trollhide's going on the Briar Pack Alpha with otherwise I could do the Train Condor just to trade with the Child of Night and play Sensory Deprivation on the Tusker, which I kinda like. Yeah. Let's actually do that first. My opponent has a lot of removal. I'd rather develop my board a bit. Put that guy there. I have my giant growth up, even though I don't have it. My opponent is in the controlling seat here, being able to play a removal spell or something. Yep, there goes Mind Rot. It's fine. Not happy about it, but that's gonna happen. At least that's what my opponent did for the turn, and now I have good blocks. Root Wall also very good. You can start bashing in for 5, but I'm so behind. I really just need to keep my defense up. I can attack with just the Trained Condor now, which I think is what I want to do. 3, 4. Yeah, I'm just going with Trained Condor. I'm cool with that. Just acknowledge my opponent's ahead in life and cards, which means my opponent can pretty easily, like right now, start turning the tide of the board position, which I have, but may not get there. Alright, so it's been a while before that happens. If I attack him with the Root Wall, I could trade here, or just get double blocked by these guys. So maybe I bash in for 7? My opponent has good attacks back. One more land, though, in this Woodborn Behemoth, I don't think I can win against. It's going to bash him with a Condor. Just going to have to hold out. I mean, my opponent's going to need a land so soon. Oh, it's only 6. For some reason I was counting 7. Well, that's good. Maybe I would have, well, no matter what, it's just going to be bad when that happens. Ooh, Deathgaze Cockatrice. So my opponent's going to easily get an 8/8 Trampler online. I can 3-for-1 myself when that happens. Ugh, that's just going to be brutal. I'm just going to get the Deathgaze Cockatrice out. But I think it's going to be pretty hard to come back from this. Could have been correct just to continue to bash everything and try to win a race. But with this lifelink 3/2er, I'm not too sure that I can even win a race if my opponent whiffs on the land. Oh, there's a land. Okay. Do I do the triple? 3. I get blown out, but there's no other way for me to kill the Woodborn Behemoth, so I pretty much have to do it. Like, I just have to. It's a bummer. 3-for-1. Ouch. Ouchie. That hurts. That hurts so much. Deadly Recluse. Good draw. Barely staying alive. I think we're just in defense mode, right? If I attack for 2, my opponent can bash in for 3 lifelink. Yeah, we're just on defense. And my opponent's gotta know I have some fatty card in hand, right? But, yeah. My opponent's top decking like me. I do have a nice card in hand for when things go awry. For now, we'll just do that block. See if it trades. It does. That's good. I think. Right? One more land. I do want to be trained as Deadly Recluse with Deathgaze Cockatrice. I don't want to show my opponent my Garrick's Horde while Deathgaze Cockatrice still exists, but I might just have to. Although only a couple hits with Garrick's Horde gets me there, so maybe we'll get there. Another Mind Rot would be devastating, that's for sure. My opponent's gotta be thinking, what do I have in hand? We all have endless mana to do things with. I'm thinking about, what does my opponent have? Does my opponent just not care about the Deadly Recluse? Ooh, Howl the Night Pack. That's a bummer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I gotta kill one of them with a time ebb. Is that even relevant? I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12 next turn? Just might get there. I don't foresee that happening, but it could get there. No, my opponent has lethal. And that's just it. No matter how you take the math, that is lethal. Correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, that's lethal. Well, I put up a fight, didn't I? I tried. Hard to come back from 3 for 1s. That's for shizzle. Not to mention a previous 2 for 1 with the Mindgrot. Okay, definitely want to keep Negate up for that Howl. Don't see Naturalize being important. Want to remember Mindrot. Brindleboar, something I don't like in my deck. Negate's the only weak one, like we were thinking earlier. Ranger's Guile. Still tricky, but my opponent knows about it, so it's way weaker. I think Time Ebb will be good. Troll Hide's fine. Doomblade's a thing. Brindleboar does trade, but not favorably with anything relevant. Just the Child of Night, so yeah, I'll keep it the same way. Want to play first? No thanks. We're both looking to go late. And this is pretty good. 2-drop, 3-drop, Sensory Deprivation, and then eventually Garrick's Horde, which I've yet to be able to play, which is disconcerting. Might have been a mistake also earlier. Remember playing that Sensory Deprivation, or rather not playing the Sensory Deprivation, so I want to keep that in mind, just to be using my mana since, you know, I have 2, I have a 3, that's going to be happening, so. Alright, Child of the Night resolves. I allow it. Pick that up from Owen Turtenwald. I allow that to resolve. There's just playing the Warden, right? And I'm just going to keep a Seacoast Drake for blocking. I don't need to get 1 point of damage in. Lightcaster. Okay. What enchantments did I see? Maybe like a Quag Sickness is out there? That's scary. We'll just bash in with the Warden here. I'm not going to be blocking any of the dudes with it, even though I do have Giant Growth. I want to keep this. I want to start this race happening. I might use the Giant Growth to save myself from a Blightcaster enchantment. Probably not, but we'll see. If Quag Sickness comes down on the Seacoast Drake and then the Warden goes, I'm not too sure if I Giant Growth the Seacoast Drake or the Warden. Right now my opponent doesn't seem to have that. Having my Troll Hide is good. Especially as I can play it now on the Warden and start getting pretty aggressive, and it keeps me out of Blightcaster range. And I have Regeneration backup to play it, so yeah, I think that's the game plan here. We start that off, start beating for 4 in the air. We'll keep our Regeneration and our Giant Growth mana up. Try to win this quicker than later. My opponent has its own. scroll hide. Opponent's now at a 4-3 lifelink. I'm not a fan of that, especially with the regeneration backup. Ooh, does the giant growth kill it? No, because then it just becomes a 2-4. So that's not fun. Yeah, right now we're just going to take it. Ouch. It's going to make this race way more difficult than I thought it'd be, but Sensory Deprivation might get us there. The Tusker's out. Root Wall is a pretty decent draw. Do I want to be playing defense against this opponent? I do like going late. I have this Garrick's Horde. Play the Root Walla, play Sensory Deprivation, keep pumps and regeneration up. Definitely that's the game plan, but am I attacking with my Warden to try to counteract this Child of Night? Having the Giant Growth will probably eat the Giant. It will probably eat this, and then having Root Walla. Yeah, we're attacking in. The deck gives my opponent like an endless blocker, so that's not exactly awesome, but gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. That does mean I need to really protect my Warden, because that's my win condition now. So my opponent wants to be putting pressure on. That's interesting. I'll just take 3 here. For now, because my opponent has mana up. Giant Growth I care about, I'll just wait a turn before I start getting super greedy on things. This way everybody stays alive. I gotta protect my Warden. Ooh, Minotaur Abomination. Okay. Forest. I do want to get a 7/7 Trampler on board. That'll be very key. At the same time, I still think that this 4/4 is kind of my win, right? My opponent has Mind Rot, so yeah, I'm playing Garrick's Horde out. Never mind. Totally should have thought about that before. Play Garrick's Horde. Forget how this works. It's a creature card, I can cast it, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great. Attack in with the Warden, which I'm definitely gonna be blocking with because of any pumps or anything. And then yeah, that's gonna do it. All right. Exposed for a turn, if I can untap without any major damage happening to my creatures, I'll feel very good. But if Liturgy or a Quag or something comes down, I'm getting some pretty nasty shape. And this is the turn my opponent has to do it, for sure. And per usual, Ryan status, I am getting low on my time, because if I'm winning this, I have to win the next game, so I'm just now starting to kind of pay attention to that, which I'm sure all you viewers wish I think about earlier. I'm hoping to one day be faster at this entire recording and playing process, but yeah, I'm not the quickest yet. My opponent is probably doing some serious math right now, which is probably not good for me. It means my opponent has not only, of course, this board state to consider, but also probably something in hand with a lot of variation. So that scares me quite a lot. I'm thinking right now about what kind of blocks I'm willing to do if different pieces come into the puzzle here. I want to protect my Garrick's Horde. I think it'll be relevant. Attacking with it and the Warden makes for a lethal attack with no blocks, of course, but that puts my opponent in a tough spot. Here comes the attacks. Alright, so my opponent wants to try to be forcing damage through. I think I'm cool with kind of similar blocks I did before to kind of just keep my guys alive. And then I think I'll just take 4 damage from the Minotaur, because Giant Growth kills Garrick's Horde, which is one of the most common things that can happen. And we'll just do Garrick's Horde against the Clonian Tusker. And then my opponent can only really have... So I think that's what I want to do. Now if my opponent has a Quag Sickness, I can take out the Garrick's Horde, and then I'm left with just these guys, but then I have, what, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the crackback, so I'm actually in an okay position, because that's where my opponent's going to be at. But it's assuming only Quag Sickness, which is a lot to assume. And I'm still going to be taking 4 going down to 7. Not awesome, but at the same time, if I take 7... I mean, gosh, then I'm down to 4, which is really bad. So I have to try to force this trade somehow. I don't have to do the Seacoast Drake. I could just chump the Seacoast Drake against the Clonian Tusker. My opponent's doing this Elvish Mystic thing. So maybe I just take this extra 2, or extra 3 damage, go to 7 before, and try to do the Blightcaster, and just eat the Elvish Mystic. My opponent doesn't have Howl the Night Pack, or my opponent probably would have played it. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. I think this is the best way for me to take the least amount of damage. The Elvish Mystic and that, I mean, I'm taking 5 here, which is not great. And I'm not killing 2 creatures. Alright, so here's a Giant Growth, which was taking out the Rootwalla. Now what's left? The Woodborn Behemoth. Okay, so that is scary. But I get my own Baloth down, which with 4 backup does mean I have Trollhide and Giant Growth. So I attack him with Garrick's Horde and the Warden for 7, which is only 10 damage through if I even use a Giant Growth on my Garrick's Horde, but it does mean my opponent has to chump with the Woodborn. 7. If I attack with everything and my opponent doesn't block, then that's game. If my opponent blocks, I'm only left with my Rumbling Bailiff backup. I win the game there, but my opponent blocks, then the Woodborn Behemoth's gone, and I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage coming back at me, which basically means any removal spell gets me. Seven. So I either go with it with Giant Growth, right? Or I let's see what else I'm trying. Alright, so next turn I do get a Deadly Recluse, and I could possibly play that right now. So play Deadly Recluse. Yeah, in that case then I'm attacking with everything, because I'll have 2 blockers available. So my opponent has to block with Woodborn Behemoth, but does not. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, cool. There we are. And that worked out pretty okay. Oh, I'm showing my opponent what's on my library, which I don't really want to do at this point. Alright, so a hard-fought game. Naturalize now has a target with Trollhide, and that is fairly relevant. I have my own Trollhide, but is there, again, I think Negate will actually be able to counter the Trollhide or any other kind of spell command, so I think it's a little more versatile against the removal spells my opponent has. Give me Ranger's Guile. Oh, it's creature you control. No. Keep it the same. Going into game 3 with 10 minutes left. Alright, time to focus. Hey, well, we gotta keep. some flyers, which are hard for my opponent to deal with, plus a giant growth, and these will be able to dump the hand pretty quickly, which is great against Mind Drop. My opponent seems to have an okay start as well. I am going to go ahead and sensory deprive the Child of Night now, because I'm going to be using my mana for the next few turns. And just staying alive against this race is going to be pretty good for me. Get the Warden on so we can play a Warden and a Deadly Recluse next turn, and then be hitting in the air effectively. Ooh, Plummet. That's good against me. Of course. Alright, Hell Night Pack is coming up soon. Claustrophobia, very nice. We'll play our land, play another Warden with Giant Growth, but I can only play one spell a turn, so I'll just hang on to the Giant Growth. Okay, really ramping into Hell. Ramp not cared about because there's not going to be that insane of a draw, but certainly worried. Play this guy, attack for 2, and then hold back and try to draw more beef. And that's the current game plan. Opponent seems to not be drawing much, which is definitely good for me, though getting into the 4. You know, a bunch of wolves coming down will be hard to deal with. So I need to be getting a lot more power on board. And then Mind Rot, just, you know, say adios. That's a good Claustrophobia target. So I can keep bashing through in the air. Ooh, and then we have the Bailoff, but I can't play both. Ugh, so maybe I Time Ebb? Oh, that's the same deal. I do think it's Claustrophobia. I'll ditch Time Ebb and Giant Growth, even though I do want to be getting more more pressure on the board. I think it's important for me to continue these tempo swings right now. Especially if my opponent only has one card in hand, I'm doing pretty okay. Mind Rot gets rid of Time Ebb and Giant Growth. Like I said, I want my Bailoff. I want beef. Yay, I get beef now. And I'm gonna make it the Rumbling Bailoff in case next turn I do want to be playing a Time Ebb as well as an Advocate. And I want to be able to bash down as soon as I can. Doomblade? Okay. That is gonna happen. Now we're back in this ground mode. Spore Mound is good. I think I like Advocate of the Beast better. Yep, jump away. That happens. Oops. I'm tapping incorrectly. I just want... I mean, do I care? Yeah, I want to get the Advocate of Beast going to get the Rumbling Bailoff online. That is important to me. It's target for removal, but my opponent's top decking. Spore Mound is fine, but it's just a 3/3 until I draw land, and now I can get the Spore Mound online. I will still be attacking with both these guys, especially having Giant Growth back up. Cool. Oops. I do have the luxury of keeping an island up for a possible removal spell, or counter spell rather. Right now we're just completely outdrawing my opponent. Yeah, my opponent just didn't get anything. So there we go, won it. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, I'm Ryan, Mana Bluff. Please leave comments on manabluff.com. Or find me on Twitter, __RGH__, and of course on YouTube. Comment, subscribe, and like. Hope you enjoy the draft, and have fun at the pre-release, or I hope you had fun at the pre-release. Ooh, leave me stories, because I can't go to the pre-release. I'm so swamped with homework. that there's no way I'm going to be able to get away. So, yeah, tell me how it goes. Would love to hear about that. I cannot wait to start drafting in a few weeks. Woohoo! Alright, thanks guys. Peace.